we've got a couple of email questions we can get to, James, if you want to do that right off the bat. Let's go to those. Let's go to the first one, please. If someone gets a DUI, look, they're already on topic. If someone gets a DUI or gets into a wreck after drinking at a party, does it put any liability on the company serving those drinks? And that's Harry. Well, Harry, we don't know if you're in Alabama, Georgia, or Florida, but we'll answer it to Georgia. We'll answer it to Florida. First of all, let's talk about the criminal aspect of it. Is somebody else responsible for DUI?
Usually not.
Okay. All right.
The person that's going to be operating the vehicle at that time is going to be the person that's going to be, or in physical control, because that's another element of DUI. You don't actually have to be.
You're already starting to talk that lawyer stuff. Physical control versus driving a vehicle. In order to have a DUI, I need to be driving the vehicle, don't I?
Well, not necessarily, Larry. I mean, you can actually be in actual physical control as one of the components in Florida, which you'll see people that will pull off the road in a parking lot, decide to rest at that point in time, and wind up getting charged with DUI.
So in that situation, should they get in the back seat, get in the passenger seat, take the keys out? I mean, what are these things about physical control that somebody needs to be worried about? I mean, you figure if somebody may feel like they were good to leave someplace and then they left and then felt like, well, maybe I'm not so good, and they pull off into a parking lot, Walmart, or safely off the side of the road, or a closed restaurant or something like that. Hey, tell us what somebody should do or not do in that situation.
Well, just make sure those keys aren't available.
Okay.
No matter what, whatever way you can sit there and accomplish that is what I would tell somebody to do, because you are trying to do the right thing. You are off the road at that point. You're not technically driving the vehicle. The problem is nobody knows if you're. The reason law enforcement looks at it the way they do is they don't know if you're all of a sudden going to get back behind the wheel, even if you're not behind the wheel, and start the car and take off at that point.
Okay. All right. So.
And that's, I think, the logic behind the legislature setting up actual physical control.
Okay. So in this particular situation for Harry, if the person is behind the wheel or in physical control, as you say, and they're driving, they're the ones responsible, or that person is the one responsible for DUI, right?
Correct.
Now let's go to the civil side. On the civil side, if somebody is involved with an accident and they have been drinking and they've been overserved someplace, the question is, are they responsible, meaning if they're at a restaurant or at a social gathering or things like that. And that is very fact specific here in the state of Florida. You would think, oh my gosh, they were served 10 kamikazes before they got in behind the wheel and they were drunk, then they should be responsible for it. That's not always the case. And in the state of Florida, it has to be somebody who is either underage, under the age of 21, or they have to be somebody who is a known alcoholic to the restaurant. Kind of like Cheers, they kind of come in, they've got the drink set up. Hey, Norm, everybody's talking about that. For you young people out there, it was a very popular sitcom back in the 1980s and early 1990s.
One of my favorites.
And it's where everybody knew your name, and it's a great landmark up in Boston you can go to. But aside, they need to know who you are as far as being a known alcoholic. And so you can be served, and maybe you display actions of being overserved, or maybe you're just an alcoholic and you can sit there and drink 10 drinks and still walk a straight line. But if you get behind the wheel and you're involved in an automobile accident, first, Harry, the person would be involved. They would be responsible, and then it becomes fact dependent on whether or not you are responsible. If you're a business owner, a restaurateur, a bar owner, something like that, it becomes very, very fact specific. Now, in the social host context, typically you're not responsible unless you have an open party or an open bar and nobody kind of watching things, and you have, and a lot of those situations, James, it's where they have the open house party, everybody gets on social media, Project X party, where everybody just kind of shows up. And unfortunately, you got somebody that's 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, 20 years old even, that just starts drinking. And if you have an open bar policy at that particular situation, then the social host could be held responsible, including situations where a parent rents the house for the children. They're down here on spring break, they're down here for a party, they're down here for a social gathering of some sort.
And there is a criminal open house party statute too.
Yeah, so you can be held responsible that way as well. So Harry, obviously you don't want to get in those situations. And I want to point out something, if you think you've had too much to drink, of course you've got Uber, you've got Lyft, and I got to give kudos and a great big shout out to White's Wrecker here in Bay County, Florida, that over the holiday, over New Year's Eve, they towed more than 40 vehicles to people's homes. All they had to do was call, and White's Wrecker, for free, towed them to their homes.
That's great.
I mean, does it get any
awesome.
better than that? I mean, that is really putting your money, your time, your treasure, and your, to make sure, putting it where your mouth is, cashing that check to say, hey, look, we're going to do it for free because we believe that much in it. And of course, AAA did that nationwide as well. So if you were a AAA member, or I don't even think you had to be a AAA member, all you had to do is call AAA over the New Year's Eve holiday, and if you had too much to drink or felt like you had too much to drink, they would tow or get a tow for your vehicle and to get you home safely for free. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who didn't do that over the holiday,
No,
did they?
unfortunately.
I don't know what the statistics are here for Bay County, but I heard that it was in the dozens of DUIs that were picked up over just New Year's Eve, and I think that was Panama City Beach and Bay County picked those up. I don't know about Panama City proper, but quite a few DUIs, and so you had that opportunity for free to go home. And what do they say? Buzz driving is?
Drunk driving.
Yep. So there you go.